Welcome to the Heavyweight Podcast.
The message behind saying the title "The Heavyweight Podcast" is to be able to say that we can weigh in on some heavy shit. You know, what we're talking about is important from every aspect of it. It's a heavy weight. It's not just about physical weight, but the weight of things that can weigh our minds. So I think it's dope that we can have this conversation. What's good? This is episode 93 of the Heavyweight Podcast. I am Stutter McFly with these three guys. Go ahead and state your name for the beautiful people out here.
It's your boy Nappy Dulo. What it is, you know.
All his life, he been po. It's your boy Mo Lethal.
And they call me Hunter.
How are you?
Yeah. Good. I'm thinking about getting an S curl.
You need to straighten that shit out. That shit look nappy.
Do they still make the pink stuff?
What? Like for the hair? Yeah, my daughter got some.
Yeah.
My daughter. They got some. Yes, dude. Ooh, that's a nigga product.
We're the only ones to buy it.
Oh man,
That is.
Kevin, you're weak, sir.
It's good. It's better. It's making more progress in this garage. It's a lot of work, but you know.
When you done, come help me.
Got some racks in the ceiling now, and that's cool. That was good. I did some DIY shit. I learned from you. It saves a ton of money.
Yeah.
So, and other than that, just working. Renaissance Fair was different. It's hot.
Did they have the titties out?
Yes. Some of them shouldn't have.
You got video?
No, I didn't want to get kicked out.
Are you saying they had veiny titties?
I didn't want to get kicked out. You know, I was an Akon in a snowstorm, so.
It's summertime, but it's snowing in the Hamptons. Didn't everybody tell you this is an all-white party?
Other than that, that's my week. That's my week. You gentlemen?
my week was moderately just a week. Went to work, came home.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what the fuck's that, man?
I mean, no.
Because
After last week, I didn't want to do shit.
Did you make sure that you only came at home after last week?
I'm going to say no.
Okay. Anyway, my week was it was like McFly's week last week. It was just work. I'm also Kevin in the process of starting my garage venture.
Oh man.
Try to get some shelves and whatnot put up, made, installed, all that jazz. So
I got a weekend project I need to tackle this weekend, so
Good.
I look forward to that.
I mean, I'm about to go down to Home Depot because I'm tired of working.
That's gone.
No shit, not out here.
What did you just say?
Don't make him do that. Don't make him do that. You know what he was doing.
I said I'm gonna go to Home Depot and hire some help.
Oh,
Why don't you go on like Angie's list?
Why?
I mean, they're the same price.
This sounds so bad. Like y'all niggas don't even
Why
know.
is it so bad? Why is it so bad? Last year, I hired a guy from Home Depot to remove some yard waste, and he gave me a good price.
And how much was he an hour?
It wasn't an hour. He was removing trash, so it was by the truckload. It wasn't bad. I only paid like $125, and I filled the whole truck up.
Oh, and he was supposed to take that to the dump?
No, he took it to the dump for me. Yeah, he came, he moved it, and took it to the dump. Yeah.
So your shit is laying somewhere in an empty field right now?
Hey, it ain't my problem. I paid for the service. What he did with after that is not my concern.
See, that's what I meant. It's like that sounds so much better. You paying for their service.
Yeah.
This nigga over here like, oh, they cheaper. You know, they cost you can buy one of them for them. Like, nigga, you can't buy people. That's not okay.
So I'm probably gonna do the same thing this year. I'm gonna like I said, I'm gonna start going through the garage, get rid of some shit, and then I go down to Home Depot and say, "Hey, senor, I got some trash removed. Can you move this for me?" Because it's cheaper
What'd you
than
say?
senor.
He's gonna be like, my
I will
name's
send you
Jonathan.
video. Like
My name's Jonathan.
at my Home Depot, there's literally a row of trucks that say "We haul waste."
Oh,
You're getting dangerously close to that Juan Maria statement. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
And that statement was factual, so I don't feel bad about that at all. Don't act like some stereotypes ain't true. They're only stereotypes because they're partly true.
Oh man.
Okay.
Hey man.
I will say this: there is one white guy at the Home Depot. I don't trust him.
We ain't got no one. We got nothing at our Home Depot.
This
Really?
the thoughts of Mo Lethal are Mo Lethal's and Mo Lethal alone. You would literally, it's said without saying, you don't trust him because he's the white guy out there, not because he is not of.
Nope. And and a couple years ago, I hired a black guy to cut my trees, and then he tried to replace my gardener. I said, "Look here, bro, you just here for the trees. Stop trying to take the rest of the business, okay? I like my gardener." And then after that, I fired my gardener like a week later. But anyway, that's
And maybe that's just that tells me where I live, huh?
Why?
Yes, yeah.
Because it's
well, I live in a predominantly Hispanic.
Yeah,
I live in a predominantly Hispanic area. Like 90% of my block is Hispanic. So
no, yeah, and I'm saying they sell certain T-shirts at Stater Brothers out here.
Damn.
What do they say on them, Kevin?
2024 with someone's name on the top of it.
He said these were those Trumpers.
We drove by a house yesterday, and my wife like, "You want a sign like that?" And I said, "What sign?" I pointed. It said "Fuck Biden." I said, "What do I need this sign for?"
Oh no, but hey, business venture is where I'm going next year. Selling Trump merchandise for sure. For sure. He gonna pay for something.
I said I should put the black fist outside my house, but I said, but they ain't gonna anger nobody because they all Hispanic. They gonna just put up Mexican flags and they're like, we rock with you anyway. So
no, yeah, they just gonna drive.
They gonna throw it up. It's not. I was like, who are we offending? Like literally, who are we offending? No. I will say this: I am mad because my neighbor across the street they had a party Easter weekend, and that shit smelled delicious. They didn't invite us, and they're the only one that didn't invite us to some over here, and I'm mad. I'm gonna talk to them.
Why didn't you just walk over there like you were just owning the shit anyways?
Thought about it.
I tell my wife all the time, let's crash parties, and she always too scared to.
My neighbor across the street invite me all the time. I'm like, I don't know, Tony. Because he got Tony. He's older. His sons are like a little younger than me. I was like, they look like they get drunk and get rowdy. I was like, no, I'm good.
Oh, they those ones?
Yeah, yeah. It's peaceful over here. So
should be loud. You're like, are they arguing?
Like, no, they just talking. I said, oh, they niggas. Big Fly, your week, sir.
Just the work.
Just goddamn.
Just working.
Work.
And I'm
trying not to focus on Kevin's hair and what he's doing with it because it's going to make me laugh.
You don't like that?
I'm not looking at in that direction.
I like that shit.
I'm like hyper focused over here because I don't want to look because I'm gonna end up falling out this goddamn chair. So I'm just trying not to look in his direction because he's been working on. I don't know. He's done so much, and then nothing's changed. It's amazing. He keeps picking and going like this, and there's nothing that's changed.
It's like the slope.
I see his nap.
You don't see it?
I see it's just nap.
Oh, just one big nap?
Yeah, it's just nap.
Got one big ass nap.
Hold on. The black in me just said, I bet that nigga kitchen dirty as fuck.
Oh.
This
to all the non-black people listening, that mean the back of his he didn't line up in the back of his neck.
BDB?
They don't know it. Yeah. His kitchen. I don't understand what that has to do with his pots and pans.
If you ever want to make a black woman mad, but hey, go ahead and get your kitchen cleaned up. You might get slapped. Let's get into it, man. We go.
Damn. That light is bright as shit.
Who's like Kevin?
Evans.
No, that nigga just sweating that much.
Yeah, I'm greasy, dog. Today.
Look. All right. Shit, I gotta stop. All right. So the first question comes in.
Kevin, the only nigga I know that's like 6'4" and fat and skinny at the same time.
No, there's some Africans out there.
Look. Shut up, bucket. All right.
That was rude. Hey, I'm down like 20, 30 pounds. Come on, dog.
How do you?
I said and skinny at the same time.
Congratulations. So you gotta applaud that. You gotta applaud that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with racism being a black father?
In my everyday life?
Yeah. I didn't ask the question. I'm just relaying it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't come across really. Luckily, thank God.
Not even out there?
No, really, it's odd. I think these are the old school, hey, you stay over there. No, it hasn't been anything out here. It's kind of cool like that, but I guess that's a blessing, or unless I just blocked it out from anything, but it doesn't feel like anything's been outrageous because we picked the right neighborhood. There was a house that we were looking at that had not a swastika, a Confederate flag in their window, and I was like, this is not the neighborhood. We won't move here. But,
yeah, I haven't. Honestly, I've never dealt with it. Even if I have, I probably just wasn't paying attention because I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, that's probably where it would be like, get the fuck out of here. Oh, you racist?
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be something very blunt, but most of the time it's not blunt.
But even I haven't even picked up on. I haven't had a blunt situation or a subtle situation.
But I will also say this to that is your kids are not older either.
Oh no.
Oh,
that's true. But I mean, when they racist, they racist.
Right. But
I haven't.
Age.
Yeah, but I mean, when I say that, even though they tend not to even take it out on little kids. But when your kids hit that 12, 13 area age, you'll see it a little more in the world. You know, because you got to remember, our kids are always looked at being older and being treated older even when they're still young. No.
Yeah.
So
I was called a niglet once.
Yeah, I was.
Two grown ass white men. I was walking out of a Blockbuster with my dad, and they made a joke.
No, that's fine.
And they said, "What do you call a black something?" And they said a niglet, and they said it in front of me. And then when I got in the car with my dad, I asked him, "Why? What does that mean?" And then he explained it, and you could see the hurt in his eyes, like.
I laughed because my aunt used to call me that.
Oh no, somebody called me a niglet because my dad cut him off while he was driving drunk, so I couldn't even be mad.
But
look at that niglet over there, and I was just like.
To Andy's point, though, I mean, he brought up a good thing. Is when you do happen to see it and deal with it, you tend to have to let it go because of your kids. You know, because
You don't have to.
Yeah, you kind of do, because you always got to remember your consequences can lead to something to your kids.
No, you ain't got to go fight nobody.
Yeah, but you don't know how things are going to turn out in this world either. So sometimes it's just
that's anything.
Exactly. But like I said, his dad just said, whatever, and pushed on and dealt with it afterwards. Because I mean, his dad could have sit there and said, "What'd you say?" And then one thing led to another.
He didn't hear it. I heard it, and then I asked him when we got in the car. I asked him, what did that mean that these two men said that? And he said, "Where?" And I said, when we were walking out of there, like, and he just kind of like it saddened him, and he was kind of like, yeah, unfortunately, you have to deal with this as you get older. Like, you're gonna have to deal with this like constantly.
And I mean, even the point where my boys are grown, I never really had anything racist towards them that was around me. You know, like the only time I can ever remember was we got pulled over one day, and we got pulled over because my son had a white T-shirt on in the back. You know, that was exactly why we got pulled over.
My dad's been pulled over for that with me. Or just I fit the description of something, and they pulled him over, and he was like, "What's his? Where's his license or ID in the passenger seat?" I've been in that situation, and he was like, "My son's only this old," and they're like, "Oh."
Right. Outside of that, I really can't think of anything really that's ever really stuck in my mind if it did happen.
Yeah. I might just block shit out so much that I don't notice it or whatever, I guess.
Hey, in the same token, we Cali ain't bad as it is in the South and the East. So
I will say this. My wife tells me she deals with this shit more than I do. Especially now that she's, she doesn't work, she stays home. She does it all the time because
I can see that.
she runs to it. She says she runs to a lot of time where people are just shocked by the fact that she's black and that she doesn't work and that she like, oh, you married? Like she used to go through the whole thing of we did just get this a lot about because people used to think we were just boyfriend and girlfriend, and then so the whole fact, no, that's not my boyfriend, that's my husband. So she would deal with that, and then once people always realize that she stays home, they always then now they're interested to know, well, what did your husband do? Because it's like they can't fathom the thought of, her. First they ask her, is her husband black? And then they can't fathom that a black man's making, I guess, a good enough income to provide for a family with other. So she's told me that she's dealt with that shit here in where we currently live. But it's always an older white woman. It's always an older white woman. One time it was an older Hispanic lady, and then she went into like some cultural things about how like she said that that it's not normal for she said something like it's not normal for black women to cater to their husband or something like that. Pissed my wife off, and she went on like a 20-minute tantrum that I probably remember like 2% of. But and then
that's wild to say to somebody like you said that.
Yeah, openly, right? But I think personally, I've had to deal more with the identity crisis from my daughter's standpoint, from her starting school, than anything else, because she wants to be like her friend. So she wants to have hair like her friends, and she wants to do things like her friend. It's like, well, baby, you can't, your hair can't be this way because you have a certain texture here. You don't have that texture here. So we've had to like deal with that stuff more than the actual like me dealing with people being racist towards my child. So
yeah.
When you say that, it made me think about when Ava, her classmate, didn't believe she was black, and she's trying to tell her like, no, I'm black, and he's like, you're not black, and then he saw me and said, oh, you're black. Like he looked terrified.
That's your motherfucking daddy.
She never questioned her race again when he saw me, and then he was like, that's the kid, Dad, and I was like, oh, that one, he looked terrified when he saw me. He's like, oh, her dad is black, like.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the only thing I've personally dealt with, and I'm pretty sure Kevin, you'll probably deal with it soon. The whole.
Well, I mean, I already get that. She's in mixed and all that, and she's still figuring. She's gonna be figuring that out. But and she's like, "Daddy, I'm white," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, but you're also black." Like, I'm like, I don't know where that came from. Who?
Yeah.
But like you said, they're school. Most of the kids in the school are.
And that's the one thing about school that I don't like. It's because we have no control over what other kids are being taught in their home. So
yeah,
and kids are impressionable, and I guess I've just been blessed to have a free thinker. She thinks for herself, and she doesn't. She has a lot of leadership character traits. So I know she'll be all right.
Yeah, fortunately, I have not had to really deal with that. But older people definitely will say what they're thinking.
Hey, the good thing is they're almost dead. So
Well, I mean, because it was from another perspective, from my one of my dad's best friend. Like, well, he was actually dying, and he had who was he holding? I think he was holding Kendall, and then he like was crying. But I was like, what the fuck is he like? Is he crying because he's happy to see you? And he's like, just because he was doing all the riots and protests and everything. He's like, keep this baby inside right now. He's like, don't be out there, because he was just thinking from how he grew up, like the era he grew up in, like they used to say Peckerwoods. These Peckerwoods is crazy. So I can see, but I think our generations have been a little more. But I don't know. I haven't been in those areas, like you said, like some of the South and shit. So
Yeah, it's like Andy said. I think it was, well, Andy said it before, like Hunter was saying, like because we live in California and
it's hidden.
it's hitting. It's not. There is racism here, but it's like in select areas, and people are not as openly about it. Now they're more open than they've been in the past, but it's still most of the areas. It doesn't matter what you are, you're going to be pretty much you're safe in. Like no one's going to be out of pocket unless they got people with them. Like no one's going to singly walk up to you by themselves and say something reckless. Now they got 2 or 3 with them, and they feel like they got okay. That's fine.
That's because they
exactly.
But like you said, I mean, and then even in what that just happened in the news, that 84-year-old guy that shot the kid, that was just strictly based on race.
Yeah,
but like I said, the older generation they're dying. They're dying. So
look at where that was at.
20 years.
Look at where that was at.
Exactly, too, though. That's exactly what I mean by where is that? Yeah. But they're dying. So
what I find crazy is living out here. When I have my cornrows, it's usually kind of like I get questions like, "Oh, cool, like cool design, whatever." When I had these twists, whole different energies. People look at me like I'm a hoodlum with the twist over the cornrows, which I would have thought have been the opposite. But with the twist, they look at me and go, "Look at this hoodlum. He's gonna rob us."
Right, you got that dread. You got that dread thing kind of going on.
Real quick, see if they drop their wallet.
But they be looking at me like, "Oh my god!" And then, but I was like, I would have thought it'd been that way with the cornrows, but no, the cornrows. Oh, look at the cool designs.
Yeah, to me, all that's ignorance. Because
I was gonna say white people start wearing them too now.
You changing your hair doesn't change your personality. It doesn't change your hair. So
it's almost like with us with work with the uniform shit. Yeah. Like way different. This is kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, we can definitely speak on that.
Kind of crazy.
I still to this day, I tell Maurice all the time. I go to Barron's, and I go in there in my uniform, and the ladies always say, "We thank you for your service," and I get so thrown because I'm like, I'm not in the military, but they treat us as if we're in the military because we're UPS. They're like, "Oh, we're essential workers that work during the COVID and and you made sure we got all our stuff." And it's like, well, I appreciate the sentiment. That's not trust me. If you know what I get paid, you would not. You would not be like, "Thank you for your service." You're like, this mother. Hey, you don't need no thanks. Give me that shit. Like, too stressful. We're not doing this for chump change.
I always say
that's is these old white people saying that?
Yeah.
They ain't saying that. They want you to make a lot. They want you to make a lot. If with some niggas, they might be like, what?
How much do you make? Give me my goddamn bag. I was gonna give you this bag for 10 cents for free. But now that I'm gonna charge this motherfucker 20 cents for this bag.
Which is wild. I don't get that shit.
I think we're just fortunate to live where we live.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I've lived in Indiana, Ohio, Georgia, and Cali, and there's a big difference in Cali.
Going back down south, going back east, it's night and day.
I'll be there in July.
It is. I mean, unless now you're going to city. Excuse me, city. It's similar because you're in a diverse area. But once you get to like the outskirts, it's different.
Well, even when I lived in the city, I remember one thing that's always stuck with me was I can't tell you how many times I've been called an N-word when I was just preteen, just walking down the street, whatever. But this one time I went to the park and literally on a park equipment, somebody welded in, no N-words are allowed to use. That was
You slide on it? I would have slid down the butt naked with my balls all on it.
no,
That sounds painful.
It might have been, but it would prove a point.
you know. Like I said, you know, and then when I moved to Cali in my teens. This is when I moved to Cali in my teens. And I'm like, wow, this is nice. You know, all these different races and everything in the world. And it was a lot better out here. That's why people talk about moving to Texas and shit. I'm like, hell no. I'm staying in Cali. You know?
There's a lot
No.
of people in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston, and El Paso. If
Yeah, if you stay in the
those four-
cities.
you stay in
You
those
get
four
that.
areas, you're fine.
Austin,
You go anywhere else,
Even then, in the outskirts of all those cities you named, there's still a lot of
a lot of
ding,
land
ding,
and
ding,
opportunity.
ding, 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 ding,
Opportunity.
No.
I just know, yeah, Georgia.
Too hot.
Living in Georgia was like 40 years behind everywhere else. You're like, God damn, like you guys
yeah,
are barely just getting to this point. Like, I'm from California, we're used to this. Like,
right.
that's
I
just
remember
wild.
I remember when I went back to Georgia when I was when my grandpa died, and it was off the hook, bro.
Seems like shit is mildly segregated still.
Of course, it's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
Because I felt like in Georgia, living there, I could truthfully get lynched. Like, it really felt like, hey, it's a strong possibility this shit could happen. Like,
It probably
fuck
does.
around with the wrong person. Like, you will end up in these backwoods somewhere.
Yeah.
Hell no. Yeah. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you won't find nobody out there.
Yeah, that's just wild. But continuing on that sentiment, the same topic, I guess, continuing from the same person. Where do Black men learn about love?
What do you mean, like us or just in general?
Basically what it was how do Black men learn how to love? I mean, because you think about your livelihood growing up. Your dad was always a certain kind of way. They didn't really show love like that. Your mom was always kind of on a harder side. So where did you learn about love? Because I mean, you had to learn about it from somewhere and get it and apply it to where you're at now. You know, and I
think
get some families
But
do,
that's-
some people
yeah.
don't, but
I think it's a combination of what you grow up seeing and what you adapt from the surroundings of your world and what you see from people outside.
yeah,
It depends
Yeah.
on it depends on where you draw your influences from.
right,
I'm pretty sure we all have different stories. But you got to understand, to be loved also means something different to every single person. So, to love someone, to truly love someone, you have to love them uniquely to their love language or the way they feel they need to be loved. So, you can't love any two people the same, so to speak. Like you can have the same characteristics or the same actions behind them, but there will be some differences in how you love them.
right.
But
But I mean,
but
think
you
about
learn that like let me say this. So like for instance, I learned that growing up watching my grandfather. I learned that being a provider, providing food, shelter, that's part of loving. The getting up every day, being loyal, doing what needs to be done, that's part of loving. Now, what I didn't learn, and what my wife was always saying, is I never learned how to be romantic. I'm not a romantic person. So that's something that I had to kind of like go out and cultivate myself into the things, and then into the things that I do. Because like I said, I have love for my wife. I love my wife. She knows she knows I love her. But when you can only love in the ways you learned how to love growing up. But as you fall in love with someone, you then turn or mold that into more of a refined love based off of your partner's needs. Because if you truly love your partner, you making adjustments for them. Like you don't lose yourself in them, but you make the adjustments so that they feel the love. And then, but that's also something that should be reciprocated.
I don't go along the lines of blackness. Like, you know what I mean? I don't get why it's got to be, because that takes it to being like, it almost feels like the question saying Black men don't have there's no that black families that are just well knit. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's more of a kind of a black man, but it's also a man too. You can put both of them in there because as being men, we're not really shown how to love. You know, it's always something we have to grow into. We're not shown how to love unless you happen to have one of those kind of parents or the
But
parents you did have that
Yeah.
did that and was able to show it.
but
You
most
know, so
but
you
most
had an idea.
most black men are shown love through the nurturement. You're shown tough love from your father, and soft love or nurturement through your mother, or the person in the motherly role. That's generally how it happens. And as a man, you kind of combine the two because your mother kind of tells you how women like to be treated. So you listen to that, and then your father pretty much shows you how a man should act and how your word is your bond, and you are your word and you are your behavior, and you have to stand behind your name. So you get that, and the provider, the provider, the supporter role from your father, and then you get the somewhat nurturing and catering towards women from your mother or from your motherly figure, or you pick that up through the people who come into your life as experiences. So if you don't have a father or a mother role, it doesn't mean that you don't get those experiences. You just experience that. You might experience the nurturing from 20 different people. You might get a little bit from this one, a little bit from that one, like whatever. It may be friends, it may be maybe parents of friends, it may be aunts, uncles, whatever. But you're going to experience some way, form, or another. But I think what you're trying to say, as men, no, we are not set down and taught, hey, this is how you love, right? Because I would say most of us never even had fathers that say, I love you. They just they we were mostly raised by fathers that showed us. I'm going to show you I love you by what I do and what I'm willing to do for you, right? So, and I think that's the difference in generations. I think we are a generation of fathers that we actually tell our kids. We don't just show them; we tell them that we love them. And I think that's the biggest difference between the two generations. But it doesn't mean that we weren't taught. We were just taught. We were
Yeah.
basically taught the silent way. Like you show your love, but you show your love by showing up and being there. Pretty
But
much.
how I don't know. What's an alternative to like? How do you tell someone how to love?
Well, I mean, you know,
You
it's
know what I
hard to
mean?
tell
Like you
someone.
can't tell someone how to love. Like you can say all the shit in the world, and then if you do the opposite shit, then you're like, well, then you
But
don't love me. Like that's what you
right, but
tell them.
let me say this though. We're all been in long-term relationships. I can honestly say the love that I have for my wife is a whole lot different than the love I had for my wife back in the beginning. You know, because I had a perceived notion of what love is and what it is, and I've kind of realized that love is different. You know, and like I said, not everybody is shown that love or given that love, or you know, you don't know how to be in love or to even love somebody or what the
When it
true
comes
meaning
to
of it is.
life, though, like that's all through life. Like you can,
Exactly. And then
like you
that's the
should.
point about it. You know?
I think that comes when you find the right one.
But
Because
does it have to be relationship love though? You know what I
Well,
mean?
no,
that's where you develop it from though. When you see your
but
mom, your dad, well, like you said, when you see it, you get a more of a
I guess
concept of it. You
into
know?
but
marriage.
You know?
but it's
When
also
you
like this. Like I say, when I look at my if I look at my siblings, I like my sister. They know that my where we have the same parents. They know she's my favorite sister, and they know I would go to the end of the world for my sister because, and I think we love each other so heavily. And I think that's because we experience the same things at the same time. Because she's only 2 years older than me, right? And even though we didn't grow up together, we were never far apart from each other. We still saw each other a lot, but we experienced seeing mom and dad do the same thing to each of us. So we're kind of, in a way, we're kind of trauma bonded. So we kind of loved on each other because we weren't getting the love from our biological parents. Does that make sense? Right? And then the other thing is like I also relate to my brother, and like I said, I would move earth for my brother as well. For my brother lives in Vegas, like I have a strong love for my brother. So it's like and it's not to say that I don't love the rest of my siblings, but I can honestly say that I would be more willing and less deterring to do things for those two than the other. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do anything for all my siblings. It's just that those two hold a special place. And I think once you're bonded in any kind of way, that's where that's where it starts. Whether it's a trauma bond or a non-trauma bond. I think it starts somewhere in that, and then it grows, and then once it becomes a healthy thing, I think that just makes it tighter. It makes it a tighter connection. But you start the connection. Most people you interact with or keep around you closely, you're connected to in some way, form, or fashion. And so the stronger that connection gets, the more you will do for that person, and that is perceived and comes out and in the terms of love. Like the same way with your wife, same way with my wife. My wife and I have been through a ton of shit together. We have been through the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs. We are forever connected in the struggle we went through. So it's to say, of course, I love her differently from when I first met her, because when I first met her, I loved the appearance of her. I didn't know her as a person. I know what I saw, and that attacked me to her. Then I fell in love with her personality. Then after her personality, then I fell in love with her loyalty. So it's different levels, and so as the longer you are together with a person, the more your love should elevate if both people are going in the right direction.
Right. And because of your love that you have, Phoenix is going to understand what that is.
Yeah, she's going to understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Because, I mean, we honestly have young men out there who think it's being a wimp is cuddling with your partner or, you know, or being things like that, because they never saw that growing up, you know, and they don't know what love is.
Like I've only saw my grandfather cry one time in my life. To take that back, twice. When my aunt died and when my grandmother had a heart attack. A man that I'd known to be stern, would rarely laugh, always had a serious face. I've only saw him break down twice, and so even when his own father died, my grandfather, I didn't see my grandfather cry. Now I'm not. It's not saying that he didn't. I just didn't see him. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the generational thing. And then, but just because you're soft towards a woman doesn't make you soft. I mean, when you're with your woman, that should be a place where you're not supposed to be hard with your woman. Like that's supposed to be a place where you can be soft and be more loving. Like you shouldn't have to always be on guard, because that's how I interpreted it. If you tell me that you can't be soft with your woman, that means you have to be on guard. And if you have to be on guard, why are you there? If you're always on guard, that's not a situation you should have to be in. That's a stressful situation. Like if you're watching your back in that environment.
Well, it's not so much. It's not being on guard like that. It's just the fact that you just don't think it's what people do. Because, like I said, not everybody sees it in a home. You know,
Yep.
If a guy who's had a single household, and mom always worked or dad always worked and they were always gone, they didn't see the love that other families have or shown. So that's what I'm saying. So you kind of have to learn to adapt it and pick it up in other ways, but that plays a part in your beginning when you're finding out how to love.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't pick it up at home, you pick it up in the streets. But you're going to pick it up somewhere.
Yeah, but picking it up in the streets ain't really love.
You pick up habits somewhere.
It gets disguised and called other things. So when you think what it is, you end up realizing that's not what it was at all.
Yeah.
You had your hand up, McFly?
Yeah, because I was raising my hand saying, yeah, nigga, that's how I grew up. My dad was always working and my mom was gone. So
and my mom was always working, and that's it. I didn't truly know what love was when I was younger. I didn't know.
I got love on different layers though. It's like it's not necessarily like that's where I go where it's not necessarily the romantic type. Like you could tell love from different family members and stuff like that too. Like, but again, I have a pretty extensive family, you know what I mean? So it came from a lot of places. So it happens like that, like you were saying, it'll not necessarily be the streets. It can be the streets, but the streets is a terrible place to learn almost anything. But you can learn it outside of the home.
Yeah. Well, like to that degree too. I growing up, I had an extensive family as well. So it's like I had my grandparents, my aunts, I had cousins. All of my first cousins are 25 years older than me. So, like, I grew up playing with my second cousin. So it's different. Like I had a lot of love. And so a lot of people growing up that love me for me just being me and show me love and show me affection. they're all in their 60s and 70s right now. But like I had that. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have that support system growing up. Now I understand that everyone's not, but growing up in the dynamic of my grandparents' household, I got to see what a two-parent household, even though they weren't my biological parents, I got to see. I basically grew up like under a two-parent household. So I grew up in something similar to what my daughter has now. So I can see how, and if you see my daughter's a direct reflection of that. If you see how loving she is, how open she is, how receptive of people she is, because she has this thing about her where she feels if mommy and dad are around, I know I'm in a safe area. And I think that's also part of being taught love. Being taught feeling safe is a part of feeling loved.
Yeah.
Because when you feel safe, you're in a space where you can be open and I don't want to say subjective, but acceptance of things. So I think that at least over here in this household, it's kind of like a trickle down for me. But then again, on the flip side, my wife is from a single mother income, so single mother household. So she's not used to the two parent dynamic. She's used to I grew up with a strong, independent mother who did this to make sure we got out type aspect, a type view. And so, but we come together, and I think, and I do think that's probably what drew me or drew my wife to me because of the way I was grew up, because of the net I had around me, because in some form she had a net around her because she had uncles, she had cousins, the same thing that looked out and loved her the way I had aunties and uncles look out for me.
What I find interesting is there's 4 different dynamics of growing up black in this podcast because the similarities between Kevin and Maurice are the family or cousins that loved and all that. But then they're inside the households that grew up and were differently. Where me and Maurice similar is the kind of the connection we have with our actual parents, biological parents. Then you have the similarity of me and Hunter, who our families weren't. I didn't have a close connection with most of my family members outside of that home either, like my cousins or whatever. I didn't have a close connection. Most of them either knew of me in passing, but never actually had a relationship with me. So I grew up very isolated. So like, and then my dad was always working, and my mom was either on drugs or jail or whatever. So like, it's like 4 different dynamics of the same thing. So me growing up, the only representation of love I did have was the tough love my dad gave me growing up, with instilling things like me understanding that the way he showed he loved me was to make sure I had clothes on my back, there was food in the house, uh, taking the time out to take me places like Blockbuster or the batting cages, or just going and playing basketball with me when he got the chance, or even in as I got older, when he would do things like do your chores, and then like I would want a toy, so I would do chores. And the way of doing chores, he knew I would never actually have the money to get what I wanted, but he would just have to. He would try to instill the understanding that if he does this for so long, I will meet him halfway, or I will pay for the rest of it. I just want him to understand the basis of that. Nothing's just handed to you. So that was his way of giving me time and love, was to instill these understandings that I had growing up. So for me, the actual expression of love was that. So for me growing up, I never knew how to be vulnerable or show love by being emotional in any way. So like my representation of watching it everywhere else was either romanticized in television. So I don't know what it's normally like for it to be towards a woman when it comes to being vulnerable or being emotional or being, I guess, being able to be soft in those moments. So, but it is interesting to hear everyone's take on it.
I think that's learned from women, if you are willing to listen and want that, because Yeah, like I don't think you can be told how to do that. Like your mom could try to tell you how women want to be loved, but not every woman's going to be the same. Like you might go out there and try to be like that, and whoever you're pursuing is like, I don't know, just not receptive to it. And then whatever it takes to be there, and then you do that. Like I don't know, this when you guys were talking about this, it kind of popped up what one of my homegirls said one time, which I thought about that a lot, and she was like, she says like, if the bitch ain't willing to sacrifice sleep, then she ain't the one. And I was like, that's actually deep shit. Like just the little things, like when you're talking about with your dad, how you're like taking the time out to do stuff. I think that's huge. Like I think that's a big thing that isn't looked at the proper way sometimes. Because I'm like, something you can't get back is time. And if you're willing to take that time out to do this, that's something to me. And that's kind of how I try to do a lot more. Like I try to, like I think we all do that. Like we'll sacrifice, we sleep a little less to do what we got to do for our kids or wife or whoever we love. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's a good question. That's a tough one. I just don't think it's a black thing. I think it's
No, it was more of a, like I said, when I said black men and I said men too, because it's that both dynamic. But I mean, there's also a cultural difference in there too.
Yeah. But I was also saying that, like, when you were saying how your dad would do things with you, it's like, it was just me. My grandparents weren't mobile enough to do things with me. So I literally grew up playing. If I didn't have cousins around, I was playing by myself. And this was from the time I went into organized sports. And that's probably why I went to organized sports. I had people to play with when I think about it, because it was just me. So if you weren't on the block or you weren't in my class, it wasn't a thing. And to go back from Cameron, like I said, a woman will tell you how they need to be loved. Now, someone will tell you straight up, I need this, this, and this. Other ones will they do this shit where women think we can read between the lines. Like we men do not take hints, ladies. I don't know why y'all keep trying to figure this shit out. Just fucking tell us what you want us from you. It'll serve yourself better. But like I was saying, every woman's needs are going to be different. There is no universal way to love a woman. There's fundamental things that you can do to show that you love her, but the intricacies of each woman will be different. And those fundamental things are protect and provide.
Some women hate flowers.
I just think it's wild how the dynamic how it could change so drastically. I've told this story to Maurice, like a friend of mine who one of the girls he was dating at the time, she didn't even care if he cheated on her. She just said, just don't let it get back to her.
I've heard that before. I've heard that from, because they don't want to be embarrassed.
Stupid. Yeah, they just don't want to look stupid. That's all they cared about, is not looking stupid. And I was like,
but
she didn't care about. She just understood.
Yeah, that's self-love on her end.
But what was weird is I think what he explained was that supposedly that's how she was raised. Like when she was in her household, when she saw her parents, that's the real dynamic they had. Whereas she used to see her dad do this all the time. So when she went and looked for a man, it was, I'm fine with it. I understand what men do. Just don't let it, like, don't make me out here making me look stupid. And I'm like, damn, like, so she was just, she was conditioned to believe that this is the norm.
And like I said, I mean that whole topic, you can relate it to women too, because the same thing do happen to women, just like her. She didn't know what love was. Her interpretation of what love was completely messed up because of her family life.
That's just wild.
It is.
But that's the thing, when you're dealing with feelings are subjective to mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
Remember, people, do the little small things with your kids when you got time.
It means the world. Like Kevin said, you can't. Time is one thing you can't get back, and that's what they're gonna. That's what they're gonna remember.
And with that being said, this has been episode 93 of the Heavyweight Podcast. We appreciate you guys for rocking with us. I am Stutter McFly. Again, with these three guys, go ahead and state your names.
Freddie Monster, nigga.
It's your boy Mo Lethal the Grudge.
Hey, they call me Hunter.
The Black Joker.
Man, it looked like you got devil horns, honestly.
Are you gonna
Like,
ask us how you got
comment.
the scars on your face?
You gonna show us a magic trick?
You're gonna make a number 2 pencil disappear.
Like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. We love y'all. We out. Peace.
So next time, please.
It's a wrap. That's all she wrote, folks. Thanks for tuning in once again. You can check us out on all streaming platforms. Click like, subscribe, leave some comments. You know what I'm saying? Is it Monday yet? Hello. Every Monday you got new episodes, so tune in. Have a blessed one.